My name is Riley Thompson, I'm 29, and last Sunday, everything exploded. We were having one of those forced family dinners at my parents' house in Marietta, Georgia. Same fake smiles, same small talk, until my mom put her fork down and looked straight at me. Riley, we've decided you're going to give us $100,000 so we can buy Caleb the BMW he deserves before he starts his new job. My younger brother Caleb leaned back in his chair, smirking like he'd already picked the color. We should have bought it from the start, right? He said, not even looking at me. I didn't say a word. I just sat there, feeling the heat rise while they kept listing all the reasons I owed them. 10 silent minutes of that. Then I slammed my hand on the table hard enough to make the plates jump pulled out. My phone opened the banking app and canceled every single auto payment I'd been covering for years. Mortgage, utilities, Caleb's tuition, their car notes, everything. The second I hit confirm, my dad's phone lit up on the table. Then my mom's. Chase Bank notifications popping one after another, auto pay canceled. Payment unsuccessful. Mortgage past due. Action required today. The room went dead quiet. 4 faces staring at me like I'd lost my mind. If you've ever wondered what happens when the family ATM finally says no, stay until the end, because what came next destroyed everything they thought they knew about me. Like, if you're already hooked, drop your thoughts in the comments and subscribe, because this one ends with a courtroom twist that left even the judge speechless. Growing up in our split-level house in Marietta, Georgia, the roles were set in stone before I even understood what money was. My mom, Denise Thompson, and dad, Ronald Thompson, had always treated me like the responsible one, the fixer, while my younger brother, Caleb Thompson, 21, and still living at home, could do no wrong in their eyes. By the time I turned 18 and started community college, Dad got laid off from his sales job at the car dealership. Money got tight fast. One evening after dinner, they sat me down and said they were adding me as a joint owner on the main checking account and the mortgage, just in case of emergency. It sounded reasonable back then, so I signed where they told me to. What I didn't realize was that emergency would become permanent. A few months later, I dropped out of day classes, took a full-time night shift warehouse job, and started setting up auto pays from my own paycheck straight into their accounts. Mortgage, property taxes, homeowners insurance, both car payments, utilities, even the country club membership they refused to give up. Everything got routed through me. Mom and Dad never once opened a bank statement after that. They genuinely believed the house payment was still the same low rate from the 2008 refinance and saw no reason to check. Whenever the balance looked healthy, they just assumed life was good. Meanwhile, Caleb sailed through high school and then college on the plan they bragged about to everyone. New clothes, spring break trips, a lifted truck at 19, all of it paid without question. If he wanted something, he asked, and somehow the money appeared. I never said a word, because bringing it up always ended with Mom reminding me how lucky I was to have a roof over my head and how Caleb was still finding himself. So I kept working overtime, picking up extra shifts on weekends, and watching my own savings account stay at zero while theirs stayed comfortable. Over 11 years, the amounts grew insane. I paid off Dad's Tahoe, then Mom's Lexus covered Caleb's 4 years at University of Georgia, plus the off-campus apartment he trashed sophomore year. Every semester, his tuition bill hit my inbox and I paid it the same day, so he never saw a late fee. Mom would text a heart emoji whenever the payment confirmation came through, nothing more. They truly thought the money fairy just liked them better. I told myself it was temporary, that once Caleb graduated and got a real job, things would even out. But graduation came and went, and he moved back home to figure out his career in real estate, which mostly meant sleeping until noon and posting shirtless lake photos. The bills kept climbing, and I kept paying, because stopping felt impossible when you've been the safety net your entire adult life. Looking back, the craziest part is how normal it felt to them. They never hid the statements because they never looked. They never thanked me, because in their minds, this was simply what big sisters do. And let me tell you, carrying an entire household on your shoulders while being told you're selfish for wanting a night off gets really old, really fast. 2 years ago, right after I turned 28, Grandma Evie's doctor called me with the news no one wants to hear: stage 4 lung cancer. She had never been a big smoker. Just those slim menthols in the 80s when everyone did it. But the scans didn't care about excuses. Within weeks, she sold her condo in Roswell, moved into a small assisted living cottage near my apartment, and handed me power of attorney over everything. That was the first time I saw how much she had actually built on her own. Back in the 90s, Grandma Evie had quietly bought 3 rental houses in what is now hot East Atlanta, plus a small commercial strip on Moreland Avenue. She sold them all at the perfect time, rolled the money into blue-chip stocks and municipal bonds, and lived off the dividends and her late husband's railroad pension. By the time the cancer showed up, she was sitting on $3.4 million nobody in the family knew about because she never flashed cash. Mom and Dad only saw the modest cottage and assumed she was comfortable, nothing more. The day the oncologist gave her 6 to 9 months, she asked the nurse to leave the room, locked the door, and pulled out a folder from her purse. Inside was an irrevocable trust drafted by an estate attorney in Buckhead. The document said every penny, property, brokerage accounts, even the vintage Cadillac in the garage, went into the trust, and I was the sole beneficiary with full access starting the day I turned 30. There was a handwritten letter on top in her shaky script: Riley, I watched you carry burdens that were never yours. This is for the life you deserve, not the one they expect. She made me swear not to tell a soul until the trust unlocked. She knew exactly what would happen if Mom or Dad caught wind of the real number. They had borrowed over $200,000 from her across the years for business opportunities, and just until the next commission check, and not $1 ever came back. Grandma Evie said she loved her daughter but didn't trust her with a grocery list, let alone millions. So I quit the warehouse night shift, moved into the cottage with her, and became her full-time caregiver. Mornings were oxygen treatments and medication schedules. Afternoons were photo albums and stories about meeting my grandfather at a USO dance in 1962. Evenings were ensuring she ate something before the pain meds knocked her out. Some days she was lucid and hilarious, calling the nurses honey and sneaking me bites of contraband chocolate. Other days she thought I was her sister who died in the 70s. Either way, I was there for every doctor visit, every hospital stay, every 3 a.m. coughing fit. When the end came, it was quiet. She squeezed my hand, whispered, "Live big, baby girl," and slipped away while the machines flatlined. I held the funeral small. Just 10 of us at the cemetery in Marietta paid for everything out of pocket, and never breathed a word about the trust clock that had started ticking the moment her heart stopped. 4 months after the funeral, another Sunday dinner rolled around like nothing had changed. We were halfway through the usual spread: roast chicken, green beans, and Mom's famous cornbread when she set her glass down harder than necessary and cleared her throat. Dad kept eating eyes on his phone under the table as always, while Caleb scrolled Instagram across from me. Mom folded her hands and smiled the smile she used for PTA meetings. "Riley, your dad and I have been talking. Caleb's about to close on his first big real estate deal, and he needs a proper car to show clients he's serious. We've found the perfect BMW 4 Series fully loaded, and it comes to exactly $100,000 after taxes and fees. You're in a good place now with Grandma Evie's money, so we know you can cover it." Caleb finally looked up, smirking the same way he did when he totaled Dad's truck at 17 and got a new one the next week. "Yeah, we should have bought it from the start, right? Saves me driving that embarrassing Jeep in front of million-dollar listings." I felt my fork freeze halfway to my mouth. Dad finally put his phone down and gave me the nod he always gave when Mom had already decided everything. "It's the least you can do after everything we've been through this year," he added quietly, like losing Grandma Evie somehow translated into me owing them a luxury SUV. Mom kept going, voice sweet but sharp underneath. "You've always been the responsible with money, Riley. This is family helping family. We'll even let you come to the dealership if you want to see it." The words hung there while the clock on the wall ticked louder than usual. 10 full minutes of them tag-teaming me with reasons how hard Caleb had studied how the Jeep was falling apart, how I was sitting on all that inheritance anyway. I didn't argue. I just listened until Mom finished with, "So you'll Venmo it tonight." That's when I put my napkin on the table, pulled out my phone, opened the Chase app, and started tapping. One by one, I selected every recurring payment tied to their accounts and hit cancel. Mortgage, both car notes. Caleb's final semester tuition that was due tomorrow, the home equity line, even the Netflix they used my login for. Confirm. 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 The exact second I pressed the last one, Dad's phone exploded with notifications on the table. Then Mom's. Then Caleb's. Chase alerts flooded the screen in real time. Auto payment canceled for Thompson Mortgage. Payment due today. Payment unsuccessful. Immediate action required. Past due notice. Late fees will apply in 24 hours. Dad's face went white as he stared at the red banner screaming across his lock screen. Mom grabbed her phone thumb, shaking while she opened the app. "What did you just do?" she whispered. Caleb leaned over to look at Dad's screen and let out a laugh that died halfway. "Wait. That's real? You're joking, right?" I stood up, chair scraping loud against the hardwood they never paid for. "No joke. From now on, you can figure out your own bills." The kitchen went completely silent except for the continued pings from 3 phones announcing the same disaster in different words. Mom's mouth opened and closed like she couldn't find air. Dad just kept staring at the mortgage alert like it was written in another language. Caleb finally found his voice and spat the words across the table. "You selfish bitch." "You're really doing this over a car," I didn't answer. I walked out, got in my paid-off Civic, and drove away, while their phones kept screaming behind me. 3 weeks later, a 1770 area code number I didn't recognize kept calling until I finally picked up. The woman on the line introduced herself as a fraud investigator from Chase Bank and asked if I had recently authorized a cash-out refinance on the Marietta property. My stomach dropped because I hadn't touched any loan paperwork in years. She explained that someone using my credentials had submitted a DocuSign package 2 weeks earlier, pulling an additional $220,000 against the house and the funds already dispersed to the joint checking account. Since I was still listed as co-borrower from that emergency edition at 18, the bank needed my verbal confirmation or they would flag it as potential identity theft. I drove straight to the nearest branch with every ID I owned. The branch manager pulled up the file on her screen and turned it toward me. There was my signature perfect loops and all dated and time-stamped, but I had never seen the document before. She zoomed in on the metadata. The packet originated from an iPad with the exact device name I had traded in 3 years ago, the one still sitting in Mom and Dad's kitchen drawer, because they might need it someday. The login showed my old Apple ID password never changed, and the signature itself had been drawn with an Apple Pencil in under 8 seconds, exactly the way I sign everything. While I sat there, the investigator ran a quick report and slid it across the desk. Every dollar of the new loan had been transferred the same day to FanDuel and DraftKings accounts under Dad's name. Page after page on days, Marissa turned my dining table into a war room. Subpoenas flew out for device logs, IP addresses, DocuSign audit trails, even the iPad's iCloud backup history. Everything confirmed the same thing had been used from the family Wi-Fi network at 2 a.m., while everyone was supposedly asleep. Bank records painted the rest. Dad's gambling accounts had gone from a few $100s to over $250,000 in debt across multiple apps. The refinance money acting like lighter fluid on an already burning habit. Caleb's college fund, the one I had quietly maxed out every year, sat at 0. Marissa laid the last printout down and looked me in the eye. "This isn't just theft, Riley. It's first-degree forgery and mortgage fraud. We have enough to freeze their accounts and put a lease pendants on the house today if you want. I told her to do it. For the first time in my adult life, someone was finally fighting on my side. 1 month to the day after I walked out of that dinner, a process server showed up at my apartment with a thick envelope from Cobb County Superior Court. Inside was a civil complaint naming me as defendant. The claims read like a bad Lifetime movie: financial abuse of dependent adults, intentional infliction of emotional distress, breach of fiduciary duty, and a demand to immediately return control of all family finances plus $250,000 in emotional damages. Mom, Dad, and Caleb had all signed it. Their attorney argued that by stopping payments I had endangered their health and housing, and that Grandma Evie's trust was family money I was wrongfully withholding. That same afternoon, the Marietta Moms Facebook group, private 12,000 members, mostly women who went to high school with Mom, exploded. She posted a tearful selfie in black and white filtered holding an old photo of all of us at Christmas with a caption that got shared 400 times in the first hour. Please keep our family in your prayers. After losing my mother, we never expected our oldest daughter to cut us off completely and leave us facing foreclosure. We just want her to do the right thing. Comments poured in from people I hadn't seen since graduation. Praying for you, Denise. That's disgusting. Some kids forget who raised them. Someone even started a GoFundMe titled "Help the Thompsons Keep Their Home" that hit $32,000 in 3 days. I sat on my couch scrolling through the screenshots Marissa forwarded me and felt something inside go completely cold. They weren't just suing, they were rewriting the entire story for the whole town. A week later, the court sent the case assignment notice. Presiding Judge Patricia Trish Donovan. I stared at the name for a full minute before it clicked. Judge Donovan and Mom had been playing on the same ladies' golf league at the Marietta Country Club for 25 years. They posted pictures together every spring at the member guest tournament, arms around each other in matching visors, cocktails in hand. Dad had bragged for years that Trish got him out of 2 speeding tickets and helped push through the variance when they added the illegal pool house. Now she was randomly assigned to decide whether I owed my family $250,000. The morning of trial in Cobb County, Superior Court felt like walking into a wall of humidity, even though it was February. Security lines moved slow, and reporters from 2 local stations waited outside with cameras ready for whoever cried first. Inside the courtroom, Mom sat ramrod straight in a navy suit, dabbing her eyes with a tissue for the cameras that weren't allowed in. Dad stared at the floor while Caleb kept checking his phone like better than facing me across the aisle. Judge Donovan took the bench in her black robe, gave Mom the tiniest nod, and called the case. Their attorney went first, painting the picture everyone in Marietta already believed: grieving family abandoned by greedy daughter who weaponized money after Grandma Evie died. He called Mom to the stand. She cried on cue about panic attacks and almost losing the house, how I had abandoned my duty as the oldest child. The gallery murmured sympathy every time she paused for breath. Caleb followed, talking about dropped classes and ruined credit because his selfish sister pulled the rug out. Dad just said he missed the daughter he raised. Then came the conflict bomb. Marissa projected the country club directory showing Judge Donovan and Mom on the same women's golf committee for 15 straight years, followed by LLC filings where the judge's husband co-owned a strip mall with Dad back in 2018. She moved for immediate recusal under Georgia judicial conduct rules. Judge Donovan's face went pale. She tried to deny personal bias, but the gallery had already started whispering. After a 10-minute sidebar, she slammed the gavel and recused herself on the spot, voice shaking. The case got reassigned to a visiting judge from Fulton County that same afternoon. With an impartial bench, the rest collapsed fast. New judge reviewed the evidence in chambers for 20 minutes, came back, and dismissed every claim against me with prejudice. He ordered Mom, Dad, and Caleb to pay my attorney fees and court costs, immediately calling their lawsuit frivolous and filed in bad faith. Marissa filed the counterclaim for forgery and mortgage fraud on the spot. 90 days later, we won summary judgment, six-figure damages, and both parents got probation plus restitution orders. 10 months later, the fallout was total. The bank foreclosed on the house after missed payments piled up. The auction sign stayed in the yard for weeks. Caleb dropped out spring semester when the 529 money never reappeared, and now bounces between sportsbook apps and dead-end jobs following Dad's exact path. Mom and Dad divorced ugly over who spent what. She lives in a one-bedroom apartment off the square while he sleeps on friends' couches. None of them have my new number or address in Austin, Texas, where I moved the week the judgment came down. I blocked every mutual contact, deleted the old Facebook, and never looked back. Sometimes people ask if I feel guilty. The answer is no. The only thing I feel is free, because the day you stop paying for people who never valued you is the day you finally start living for yourself. And that, more than any dollar amount, is the real inheritance Grandma Evie left me.